Hello class, this experiment is test for carbohydrates. There are three measures tests for carbohydrates today. One, it's a Benedict test for reducing sugars. So therefore, any sugar that produces positive test, it's called a reducing sugar. So what is the positive test? The positive test is using the Benedict reagent, which has copper 2 plus. It's a blue color, the solution. If the sugar is reducing sugar, then the sugar will reduce the copper 2 plus to copper 1 plus. And copper 1 plus has a color of brick red. So if you do the test and you get red, brick red, therefore the sugar is called reducing sugar. All the monosaccharides are reducing sugars. Why? Because the carbonyl is free. That means it can cyclize, it can open. So therefore, if you have a carbonyl that's free, therefore the carbonyl will reduce the copper 2 plus. It's very reactive and it will reduce the copper 2 plus. So therefore, again, all the monosaccharides are reducing sugar. Correct? Some disaccharides are reducing sugar too, because it depends on the anomeric carbon. You already know about the anomeric carbon from the last lecture. So therefore, the anomeric carbon is free. That's number 1 in aldoses, and it will be number 2 in ketoses. This is a ketone. So the anomeric carbon is carbon number 2. Therefore, if you mix two sugars, get a disaccharide, and one of the anomeric carbon is free, that disaccharide will still be a reducing sugar, and you get a positive test when you add Benedict. If you take sucrose, that's the table sugar. Sucrose has glucose, and fructose. But here, the anomeric carbon for fructose, it's carbon number 2, so therefore this is attached to carbon number 1, the anomeric carbon for glucose. So both anomeric carbon are now not free, they're attached. You can't have a positive test with sucrose, so therefore if you add the Benedict reagent to sucrose, the answer or the result will be negative. No change color, it will be blue. So how can we prove that sucrose can be reducing sugar? You just have to break this bond. So therefore then, when you do the experiment, you have the sucrose and you add the Benedict reagent, the color does not change from blue to red. What you do, you add acid. Once you add acid, you hydrolyze this bond, there will be hydrolysis. Now you have two sugars, fructose and glucose, both are reducing sugar, and the color will change from blue to red brick. That's the first experiment, the first test, Benedict reagent. What is the Benedict reagent? Is a reagent used to produce a reducing sugar, or to prove that you have a reducing sugar. That's test number 1. Test number 2, that's specific for ketoses. That means the ketone part of the carbohydrates. This test is called Seliwanov's test. What's the positive test about Seliwanov's test? If you add Seliwanov test to your ketone, the ketose that is, the color changed to deep red color, and it formed very rapid, very fast. So that proved that you have a ketone. So to distinguish between an aldose and ketose, you use the Seliwanov's test. The Seliwanov test will always give you a positive test with ketoses. What is the positive test? The color changed to deep red color form. So now we talk about two tests. One is the Benedict. What is the use of Benedict? That's for reducing sugars. It will prove that we have reducing sugar. Test number B will be Seliwanov's test. What is the test for? What is Seliwanov's test? it will differentiate between ketose and aldose. The ketose will give you a red color as a positive test, a deep red color, and will form very fast, rapidly. The third test is for polysaccharides. If you have polysaccharides, you add iodine test. The iodine test will also give you a positive test. What is the positive test of iodine test? It's from red to brown in certain polysaccharides to red to purple, so all the saccharides. To be exact, the red to purple color is in glycogen. So if you take glycogen and you add iodine test, you will have a color, the positive color will be red to purple. All right? So class, those are the experiment that's done on carbohydrates. As I'm gonna repeat. The Benedict test, what is the Benedict test? It's used to differentiate between a sugar and non-reducing and reducing sugar. The reducing sugar always give you a positive test. What's the positive test? The color of the Benedict, which is copper 2 plus blue, will change to brick red after the oxidation of the aldehyde. The second test is Selivanoff's test. That's used to differentiate between aldoses, which is an aldehyde carbohydrate, and ketoses, which is a ketone carbohydrate. The ketoses, will give you a positive test with Selivanoff's test. What is the positive test? It's a deep red color. That's 4. The last test we did is the test for polysaccharides. The polysaccharides will give you a positive test with iodine. What are the positive tests? What are the color? Some will give you red to brown and some red to purple. Red to purple is known for glycogen. So if you have glycogen and you add iodine, you will have a red to purple color as a positive color. All right.